the middle of the trading week, risk appetite fell sharply. Investors were shocked by the news of the downgrade of the US sovereign credit rating. This was the first downgrade in 30 years. Trust in economic stability was replaced by the expected instability of the US economy. However, macroeconomic reports continue to show a relatively strong US labor market. We will discuss other events that may have an impact on the market sentiment in the current trading week and how they may affect the currency market. You are watching Forex Trader Calendar on InstaForex TV channel. As a rule, several currency pairs reflect the risk appetite in the market, and the Aussie dollar pair is one of them. The Australian dollar is a key barometer of a risk sentiment in the Asia-Pacific trading. The Australian Trade Balance Report will determine the value of the Australian currency on Thursday morning. Investors will be looking for changes in the country's exports and imports. Notably, Australia's main trading partner is China. Meanwhile, the markets are concerned about the slow pace of China's recovery after years of stagnating. The Chinese economy still cannot regain previous rates of industrial production, crippling the global economy and hurting the Australian economy. Although the previous report posted a 9% increase in the exports to China, and there had been a sharp collapse of almost 16% a month before. The cautious optimism remains, but the Australian dollar is unlikely to gain ground in such an environment. On Thursday, Europe's largest economy, Germany, will report on its trade balance. This data is a very important indicator of the economic outlook, as the German economy is export-oriented. It's likely that June will see a slight uptick after May saw the smallest surplus since last December. The second half of this trading week will begin with a flow of updated information regarding major European economies. According to preliminary estimates, the Eurozone countries recorded a deepening economic recession. On the other hand, the UK is still showing positive momentum but looked a slowdown in the growth rate. At the same time, the key event for the British pound will be the Bank of England's interest rate decision. Notably, the regulator is expected to make a 25 basis point rate hike. Although the central bank knows how to surprise investors, and last month it decided to raise the interest rate by 50 basis points to curb soaring inflation, the Bank of England is unlikely to repeat such a bold move this Thursday. Analysts say that such a hawkish decision is not ruled out, despite the fact that the Bank of England tends to make more conservative decisions. While waiting for the outcome of the meeting, analysts note that inflation in the UK still stands at a stunning level of 7.9% against a target of 2% per annum. As for the news that determines sentiment toward the US dollar, investors will pay close attention to the data on business activity from the Institute of Supply Management. This is the so-called non-manufacturing ISM. This index continues to show steady readings, while it still raises concerns about inflation and future economic outlook. According to forecasts, the indicator remains in the growth zone, which is a positive for the US assets. However, the most important news for the US dollar will be Friday's employment report from the US Department of Labor. Speaking of forecasts, we should pay attention to today's non-farm employment change report from ADP, which once again showed a rather strong increase of 321,000 against the expected 191,000. There is every reason to believe that the July report will also point to a robust labor market, which will give a signal to the Fed that the national economy is ready for another rate hike. Against this backdrop, the US dollar may strengthen. We will monitor the market reaction to the above-mentioned reports. Subscribe to our channel and follow changes in market sentiment with us. Any comments, questions, and offers are welcomed. We wish you profitable trading and see you online soon.